Now, many moons ago, before the words adventure biking had even entered my vocabulary, I went on a mini adventure around Wales with my buddy on the back of my bike and all our camping equipment. And we were riding a Honda XBR 500. And this month's review is of the MASH DIRTSTAR Scrambler. Now the Scrambler uses an engine derived from that Honda XBR engine, albeit it's now 400cc and it's only got 29 horsepower and it's slightly detuned. And here it is. The MASH DIRTSTAR Scrambler is based around a 400cc 4-valve air-cooled single made by China in China. So this is a Chinese bike, but it's styled and overseen by the French brand MASH. They launched the basic roadster Roadstar 400 last year, and the DIRTSTAR Scrambler is the latest variation on the theme. When you read the spec for the bike on the MASH website, you get 20 bullet points in the description. Only 2 of those actually talk about anything really technical. That's the Siemens EFI and the 41mm front forks. That's your lot. No electronics, minimal adjustment, no toys and nothing digital. The rest is all about the styling. 2-into-1 exhaust, rear circular red light, black wheel rims and rounded side panels. And that really tells you what you need to know about this bike. It is about inexpensive, basic, no-nonsense value for money. Anyone old enough to remember street scramblers of the 60s and 70s, they weren't true scramblers in the way that we think of them now. They weren't really much more than street bikes with knobbly tyres and wide handlebars. And the DIRTSTAR does not break that mould. With the competition style front license plate and headlight protector, you get a look, but not much more. Would you really want to use it as a scrambler in its standard format? There's no adjustment on the front forks and just preload on the rear. You'd have to be pretty sure of avoiding big rocks because this bike has no bash plate and does not have a high level exhaust like the modern Ducati and Triumph scramblers. But despite that, with the parts it does have, the mix of dark metal grey finishes and the retro scrambler styled seat, it really does look the part. So we've been out riding the bike for a couple of hours now and I've had a chance to form a few first impressions. But I think the starting point is you've got to remember this bike is £3,999 including VAT brand new. And you might think that makes it some horrible Chinese knockoff. Well, it is made in China, but it's certainly not a horrible knockoff. There's nothing really about it that's cheap and nasty. I would say simple and utilitarian. But not the finish. The finish is absolutely fantastic. The tank, the grey and the orange and the black that's lovely and all the matte black. It looks the part. And I really gave it quite a good thorough workout over the hills and the valleys over the last couple of hours. 29 horsepower is never going to set the world alight. But it gets you where you want to go to at a reasonable pace. I did wonder about the brakes. It's got a single disc on the front and only a drum on the rear. But I gave them a good workout too, and you know what? I was pretty impressed by the stopping power. So So overall, I've rather been enjoying myself. It's quite a low bike, with a seat around 780mm, and the handling and performance is exactly what you'd expect from a basic air-cooled 29 horsepower engine, which has its roots back in the 1980s. I was just happy cruising along, enjoying the beautiful Welsh coastline. I could hustle it along where I needed to for overtaking, but nothing more. The MASH DIRTSTAR Scrambler does what it does, and it does it perfectly adequately, with no apologies. But you know what really excites me the most about this bike? It's what comes next. In France, MASH is selling the 400 Adventure for under €5,000. For that, you do get adjustable 43mm front forks, multifunction digital dash, and 80 litres of aluminium panniers. That's quite a bargain. You can't get them here? Well, not yet anyway. So, scramblers. It doesn't matter whether it's a Triumph or a Ducati or indeed a MASH. They're not necessarily globe-trotting adventure bikes, but they are scramblers, so they can go off-road. It can take you on an adventure on tarmac and off the tarmac. I guess the question you've got to ask yourself is, do you want to pay 8 or 9 grand for a Ducati or a Triumph, or do you want to pay under 4 grand for your brand new MASH? There's only a couple of places where the bikes felt just the tiniest bit cheap for me. The indicator warning light on the clocks is very dim, and loads of times I ended up leaving the indicators on today. And the cut-off switch on the side stand, well, that does feel cheap and it just feels bolted on. But despite the differences with the difference in the electronics, the lower power, it's definitely not half the bike. And I've really, really enjoyed riding it today. And I guess the question, of course, is, would I have one of these in my garage? And well, the answer is, if I wanted a scrambler for under 4 grand, yeah, of course I would.